Hi there, and welcome to Lost in Literature. I'll be taking up the poem I Remember by Thomas Hood. In fact, the very title of the poem takes us back to our own childhood. Of course, you students are children, but I do have happy memories of my childhood when I felt so carefree and so eager for each day, you know, packed with all kinds of activities. And that's not really the case now because when you grow up, somehow responsibilities and other things take you over, and you do experience stress. All right, so let's take a look at it. Uh, I remember, I remember the house where I was born, the little window where the sun came peeping in at morn. He never came a wink too soon, nor brought too long a day. But now I often wish the night had borne my breath away. So you see, you have the poet here presenting two levels of awareness and time. He brings in the past through his memories, all right? And he presents images of his past to you. In fact, his earliest memories um, consist of his house, his garden, his surroundings, etc., and his boyhood days, his activities. So he's talking here in the first stanza about the house where he was born. All right. And there was this little window in the house where the sun would peep um, in the morning. Peep in. I rather like that. So he has personified the sun by using the verb peepin. All right. So the sun rising in the morning um, was a very happy occasion for him because that meant a day of uh, fun and freedom to enjoy doing whatever he liked. So he probably woke up with this great sense of eagerness, all right? And he was never sad greeting the sun in the morning. And in fact, he felt that the sun never came too soon. I mean, it rose at just the right time every day after he has had a restful sleep and was filled with zest for the day. And you also have him saying that the sun never prolonged the day. It rose at the right time and it set at the right time. Thereby, a kind of balance is established in the poem. There is a sense of stability, all right, which is portrayed in his childhood. Uh, but when he grew up, that was not the case. The contrast has been suggested in the last two lines, but now, I mean, in his present days, he often wished that the night had borne his breath away. So that was the situation in the present. While daytime and the sun symbolized, innocence, happiness, joy, nighttime symbolized a kind of sadness, regret, unhappiness, maybe suffering. He wished each night, which seemed long to him, I think, compared to the day, he wished that he could just breathe his last. And that tells us that he was weary of his life. All right? So I like the way the writer has slipped in the sense of time and this feeling of, transience, that childhood is ephemeral, nothing really lasts. But whatever it is, it's a period of happiness. And that applies to us too, because whenever we think of our childhood, we definitely feel nostalgic and we start wishing we had, uh, you know, that we could have our childhood back. So let's go on to the second stanza. I remember, I remember, again, the repetition. Such repetitions in poetry, they are called anaphora. All right? Just remember this particular literary device, anaphora. So that is how poets focus on what they wish to say and build on that repetition. So once again, I remember the roses red and white, the violets and the lily cups, those flowers made of light, the lilacs where the robin built, and where my brother set the laburnum on his birthday. The tree is living yet. Once again, we have very happy, very vibrant images of his childhood when he spent time in his garden and he was close to nature and he admired these flowers, all the flowers in his garden. The roses bloomed red and white, very, very a vivid picture of flowers here. Their colors uh, really make them come alive. And then you had the violets, the lily cups, and all these flowers he felt were made of light. So once again, he's aligning these images with the sun, because the flowers are also made of light. And there is this sense of joy that he conveys when he talks about the flowers, and also how they shelter birds like robins, which build their nests in the garden. And now suddenly there is a change of mood, because he remembers his brother on his birthday when he had planted the laburnum tree, right? And the saddest twist comes now, because the brother was no longer there. And we realize it when he says that the tree is living yet. You see, the tree is living, but not his brother. So again, he's bringing mortality, the human, sorry, the human mortality into the picture. All right. I don't know. I keep coughing like this. It's so irritating. Very irritating. So that is how he again brings mortality into the picture, and we realize that life is not a joyride. Somewhere along the line, we have to given to surrender to death, that we are mortal, all right? And that is definitely a sad thought. And also the fact that in the later stages of our life, probably we are facing a lot of pain due to some um, medical condition that we would have, been subjected to, some illness, some pain, some lack of ease. So all these things come to our mind, and finally, it is death. So let's go on to the next um, stanza, the third stanza, I remember, I remember where I used to swing and thought the air must rush as fresh to swallows on the wing. My spirit flew in feathers then, that is so heavy now, and summer pools could hardly cool the fever on my brow. So, there again, he thinks of his childhood activities when his body was free and he could do anything he wished. He could indulge in any kind of activity. He was full of energy, robust with health and life. So you have him swinging, and as he enjoyed, moving up and down, um to and fro on a swing, he would feel this sensation, this tactile sensation of air rushing past, and that would once again make him think of birds like swallows, which fly quite fast, swiftly, and his imagination was so rich that he would think of sparrows, who also probably felt this rush of air, and immediately his spirit, would uh, make him feel like a bird, like a free bird. And why was this so? Because you see, in his later years, in his mid 40s, or even earlier, I would say, he became very ill and he could not move much. All right. He was quite bedridden with sickness. And that is when he thought wistfully of his days when he was so free in the body, and even his imagination was so fertile. It flourished, it took wings like birds. But now, in his present um, sick condition, not even um, summer pools, you know, perhaps again the memories of the pools in summer where he frolicked in the water, probably, even such memories could not bring any ease to his fevered mind and body. All right, so now we know categorically why he felt imprisoned in his present. All right, and so we move on to the final stanza. I remember, I remember the fir trees dark and high. I used to think their slender tops were close against the sky. It was a childish ignorance, but now it is little joy to know I'm further off from heaven than when I was a boy. So there you are. In the final stanza, um, we once again we are taken back to his childhood, but to to his mental state. It was the time when he really was pure and innocent, and when he looked at trees, particularly fir trees which grew very very high, he felt as if he was it was touching the sky. In fact, he believed that it touched the sky. Such was his innocence, and he kind of put it down to childish ignorance later on in his life when he was disillusioned, filled with pain, and he had to, he had to acknowledge that um, life was not all that great and hunky dory in advanced years. In fact, he no longer believed that he was close to heaven or God as he did in his younger days. Now he knew that he was far, far away from heaven, that life was strewn with all kinds of difficulties, physical and mental, and one had to face, confront all this. So the entire poem, if you really think about it, is highly symbolic. You have, um, sorry, you have sunrise and you have sunset, um, implying the beginning of day, the end of day, once again, the childhood, and of course, your adulthood, and how your attitude to these times, I mean, your attitude was different. While you were happy in your childhood, you were not so in your old age. And again, you have the flowers, roses and violets and lily cups standing for innocence, purity, whereas the laburnum, which his brother planted, is basically it's a toxic tree, and that makes him acknowledge mortality and how life comes to an end. And again, his aligning his days of childhood with the motion of birds, the flying of birds, and how he too felt fancy free when he was swinging. He felt as free as the birds flying in the sky because it was the same rush of air that he felt, right? And he felt that um, nothing could cool his fevered brow. In the sense, there was nothing to bring relief to him anymore in his adulthood. And the final stanza, of course, an escape to innocence and childhood seemed very, very impossible because now he knew the truth. He knew what life was all about and how it would come to an end. So I think it's really a lovely poem. So I'll leave you with it. Think about it, ruminate over it. It's very, very beautiful. So if you liked my um, thoughts on this poem, do hit a like and subscribe to my channel. It would be lovely to have a lot of you here. Bye for now.